I'd like to welcome you all here today as we gather to remember and honour this remarkable man, Izzy for real and Peter Knox. My name's Robert. I'm a long-time friend of Izzy's partner Lynn, and it's a great privilege to be entrusted by his families to talk today and take us through this ceremony. I first heard of Izzy as a talented musician that my dear friend had fallen for, but I came to know him as a gentle, kind, family man, full of creativity, determination, smart, hard-working, and with a large measure of the magic that I knew my friend would need. He also treasured my friend, his lady. He treasured her family, and that was a winning combination for me. So it's a great honour for me to be able to stand here today and help you with this. But I want to acknowledge that, it's the close family and friends, those of you who knew him, who he was family to, and that are most, struck by the grief of his sudden going, and I want to extend my sincere condolences to all of you. I'd also like to acknowledge that we meet today on the land of the Gulbanga people and acknowledge their elders past and present. As a Wiradjuri woman, I thank them for having them in their country, having me in their country, and I promise to walk lightly on it. I'd also like to acknowledge Izzy's family members here today, the broad family that he had, his precious son and daughters, his nephews and nieces, his grandchildren, his brothers, his beloved Lynn, her children and grandchildren who are also family to Izzy. Then there's the huge family of friends, fellow musicians, fans, colleagues, students, and this big community from all walks of life that he embraced with such enthusiasm. I think it's fair to say he had a big life, and his daughters have written a eulogy to pass on and to share with you some of the many things that he did during that big life. So I'm going to read that eulogy now. Peter Knox, also known as Izzy for real, was many things. First and foremost, though, he was the second son of Marion and Eric Knox, cherished brother of Ray, Steve and Patrick, beloved father of Jamie, Soz and Xanthi, treasured grandfather to Jacob and Bronte, much loved companion of Lynn and loved one to her children Katie and Jim, and grandchildren Saffron, Clara and Maddie. Peter was a genuine dichotomy. He was both a larrikin performer and a gentle, unassuming man, with schoolboy humour and fierce intelligence. Both generous and giving, uncompromising, strong-willed when it came to being true to himself and the things he believed in, both Peter Knox and Izzy for real. When writing about his own life, Izzy described himself as the boy from Yennora, and he said, "I was a skinny, weakling sort of person growing up, and I extracted great pleasure and mirth from making stupid noises and cracking ridiculous jokes that only I seemed to get. So much so that my old man genuinely believed me to be insane. My ears were too big for my head, and my legs were, and still are to this day, the wrong size for the rest of me, as if some sort of DNA carpenter had mixed up the bits from two different kit bodies. It all made for a rough, torture-ridden, come here, you skinny bastard, I want to beat you up just because I know I can do so without too much opposition. Aren't I an expletive deleted brave mongrel childhood? But hey, didn't it make me into some weird-ass genius of a funny bastard later on?" Izzy's most visible passion was his music and performance, which he discovered at the age of 13, after finding his old man's unused Hawaiian acoustic electric slide guitar on top of a wardrobe. At the same time, he discovered the Beatles on an old radiogram, sent away for music lessons advertised on the back of a New Idea magazine for $1 per week, and practiced behind his closed bedroom door with his old mate Bob Blazer. We could have lost him then, after he nearly electrocuted himself a couple of times, by connecting the wires from the guitar to the radiogram back to front. But he did write his first song, He Don't Look Like Me. At the age of 16, Peter left home so that he could grow his hair as long and as quickly as humanly possible, and moved into a flat in Burwood where he continued to pursue music. Being still classed as a minor, his brother Ray was in charge of keeping an eye on him, although Peter contended that his big brother often got into just as much trouble as he did.
Rubbish.
Peter quickly set about making a name for himself on the Sydney live music scene, performing in acts such as Sylvester Quincy Barker's Music Box, Fluke and The Toons. Peter was always an animal lover and with a compassionate heart, and already a diligent vegetarian by this time, often living on boiled rice with his $2 a night income, ever the starving artist. He also discovered Zen Buddhism around this time, which would become a significant defining philosophy of his life, although he never described it as a religion. His music career started peaking in the early 70s when he performed with the 69ers at the Sunbury Music Festival in 1973 to critical acclaim and much drunken and drug-fueled merriment. In Peter's words, "There are pictures in existence of me heading out into the audience, pretending to be Frank Sinatra, but looking more like Frank Zappa. Microphone in hand at the end of a hugely long microphone lead," this was way before radio mics, "singing a bawdy 69ers version of Whole Lot of Shakin' Going On, hugging and kissing nude people, riding on the shoulders of the crowd members." In 1973, they thought a quick set from a silly band from Sydney might wrap things up neatly, but it was not to be. The punters kept throwing encores at us, and I don't know of any performer who knows how to duck a well-lobbed encore. At one stage, drummer Dave Ovenden skullduggerously invited the 30,000 or so punters to join us on the stage for a sing-along. The security fence along the front of the stage that had been keeping the crowd at bay immediately made funny creaking noises and collapsed forward, flat onto the ground. Towards the end of the 70s, he formed the fabulous Izzy'S brothers and took to the stage named Izzy for real, going on to carve out a reputation as a rude, crude, offensive, irreverent and extremely funny band throughout the 1980s. It is for this that he is most well known musically, and much of Izzy's larrikin personality can be heard in the lyrics and performance recordings from this time. In the early 80s, the Izzy'S brothers managed to get gigs around 300 days out of every year, as can be seen from in his meticulously managed diaries of the time. Izzy was also a father to a son, Jamie, and two daughters, Soz and Zanzi. His children were a great source of pride and love for him, and being a father was a significant part of his emotional life. Far from the loud on-stage persona, he was a gentle and kind father who fostered creativity and open-mindedness in his children with a completely unconditional sense of loyalty and pride. Izzy was also a creative academic, completing a Bachelor of Creative Arts with honours majoring in English Literature in 1994 and a Master of Arts with honours in 2000, specialising in early Illawarra literature and in particular the work of poet Melinda Kendall. As a university student and English literature tutor, Peter wrote and published The Errant Apostrophe, a short book which is still available in the University of Wollongong Library today. Many of the students who connected with Izzy over this time describe him as an influential figure who encouraged them to follow their passions and dreams. In the words of one student, Van, "Meeting Izzy as an 18-year-old was the encounter that inspired the directions I took in my own life, artistic and political. He proved to me, in his example, that those who are as selfless as they are motivated have the power to open minds and affect change. He had the rare quality of the true champion, to understand the indivisibility of leadership and teamwork. He was good. He was kind. He shared what he learned with uninhibited generosity. He told a cracking story and he was always prepared to take the piss out of himself. He spoke truth to power. Izzy's normal jobs were generally concerned with helping others, working with Headway Illawarra, Food Share, community centres, and most recently with the Life Skills for Blokes program. The last decade of Izzy's life was spent on and around the north coast of New South Wales, living a very rich and fulfilling life with his partner Lynn and her family, where he participated in the local music community through organising gigs and connecting with local talent, whilst performing as he'd always done. Whilst he had officially retired from working on his 65th birthday in April, he refused to slow down, performing at regular gigs and coordinating musical gatherings to bring together lovers of music in celebration of his lifelong passion. Izzy was full of energy and life until his very last breath, as he ran up that hill on his last crazy 6-kilometre run against all better advice. Till the end, Izzy lived life on his own terms, refusing to compromise what he loved and believed in. It's a beautiful eulogy from his daughters, and summing up, giving an idea of where he's been and the things that he's done, and his great passion for life and the things that drove him to live, by all sorts of those strong values. I'd like to call on perhaps Izzy's longest friend, Bob Daisley, to read a poem.
Oh, I couldn't.
No?
You can read it out for
You
me.
sure?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's my poem, but I could.
Okay, thanks. All right. So I'm going to read Bob's poem for
You
you.
need the pronunciation of the little bit at the end.
I'll try.
Okay.
I'll do my best. I don't know how you read the last bit though.
That's what I mean, yeah. It's no, yo.
Can I leave that to you at the end? Thank you. Thank you. All right. When we first met at high school back in 1962, it seemed as though you knew me and that I already knew you. We shared a lot, like family, throughout those 52 years. But all things, as they say, must pass, and some must end in tears. And naturally the tears must flow, and the loss will leave a scar. But it's not the final curtain, it's only au revoir. Is he for real? Is he for real? You were as real can be. Funny, smart and down to earth. And now you've been set free. You spread laughter, love and light wherever you did roam. And now that love and light has welcomed you back home. Over to you, Rob.
Nam yoho renge kyo, my friend.
Thank you. Thank you. Izzy had a rich working life, as we've heard a little bit about, and I'd like to invite Grant now to say a few words about his most recent